Hey folks, my name is Chris. I'm a flight instructor. In this quick video, I'll walk you through what I do to look for forecasted icing. Figuring out where icing is forecast always seems to be a trouble spot for pilots working on instrument ratings. So the first thing I'll do is I'll go to aviationweather.gov. And this is all going to be on aviationweather.gov. Products like the Garmin tablet or ForeFlight have very similar interfaces, but I want to show you the actual source, and you can go find it wherever these things live on your prospective product on your own. So you go to aviationweather.gov, you go to the top page. A lot of pretty good, but a lot of very consolidated information on the splash screen. One thing you have is the blues and reds and purples. That's conditions at various airports. Blue is marginal VFR conditions. Red is IFR conditions. Purple is low IFR conditions. Something else you have is you have airmets and sigmets. Those are kind of the colored containers. And then you have PIREPs for turbulence, a lot of different turbulent PIREPs all over the place. And then also in there, important if you're looking to figure out icing, is you actually have icing PIREPs on this page, the little pitchforks. Here we've got some in central Georgia and Alabama, and then some in lower Minnesota. Kind of lower Puget Sound and frontal Cascades as well. So we're kind of taking that big picture look of what is now. The next thing I'll go to is the good old prog chart. You probably have seen the prog charts for private pilot days. So I'll open up the low level quad chart. So as a reminder on how this chart works, the first column is the first 12 hours of the period. The next column is the next 24 hours of the period. Overall, this thing forecasts for a 36-hour total. And then at the top, you've got the significant weather. That tells you whether you're going to have IFR or VFR conditions in each places. This is the surface prognostic chart on the bottom row. That tells you what kind of precipitation you're going to have and where fronts are. So when I'm looking for icing, things that I look for is, like here in the 24-hour significant weather prog chart, I look for the freezing level. So you can see that little jagged line tells you where the freezing level is going to be. And actually, these little dash lines tell you the different freezing levels at different places. And then I look for inside that freezing level where I'm going to have IFR or marginal conditions. So here in that Wisconsin to Minnesota area, I know that I'm going to have IFR or marginal VFR conditions. So I'm going to have clouds close to the ground that is below the freezing level. So I know that's going to be pretty ripe for icing. I'm going to really watch out there. So that's the first thing I look to is icing at either my takeoff or landing destination. And that's very quickly how I do it. The next thing I go to is in the forecast tab, I go to these icing charts. And you get a couple different options here. We'll walk through them all. Is that you've got the top left will take you through all the sigmets. The top right will take you through basically the PIREPs, icing only. Bottom left was a forecasted icing tool, very, very useful. And then the freezing level chart, which you sort of got in the top row of the 4-panel charts, but this is a much more refined look at it. We'll look in the forecasted icing chart. I call this the blue chart. I think a lot of instrument instructors do, so we'll go look at what I call the blue charts. These charts are blue because the various icing levels are shaded various colors of blue. Now, when you first open this page, it's kind of tricky because you're getting current time, and then you're getting a wide swath from 1,000 feet up to flight level 300. That altitude swath is probably useful for jet guys. For most folks working on instrument ratings, they're probably doing it in single engine pistons, probably not as relevant. So you can take this chart and you can cut it down to things that are more relevant to you. Before I go into that, I'll talk about the different colors. So the different colors, you've got light blue, kind of a medium shades of blue, and dark blue. Those all represent how much the level of icing that's predicted in there. So this is not saying that you will have a low percentage of ice with that like light blue. That's saying you will get trace ice in that area, as opposed to you will get heavy icing in that dark blue region. Something else that's on here, SLD threat, these little red, this kind of red hatched area. What SLD is, super cooled liquid droplets. That's water that is below freezing, but has not turned to ice yet because it hasn't had some condensation nuclei yet. It hasn't had something to freeze on. So all it's waiting for is some place to freeze on, like your airplane, to make it be ice. Really, really dangerous. Especially if you're an airplane that's not icing equipped, as most single engine pistons are not. You also have pyreps on here. These little pitchfork symbols represent the pyreps. You can see the kind of different levels. So like one little tongue here, that's traced to light icing, whereas that one with like two middle sticks there, that's moderate icing. So let's walk through this a little bit deeper. So let's say we're looking at the current time, and I only want to fly at, I don't know, 5,000 feet maybe. They say is reasonable. You look at that, that's a very different picture. So within the continental United States, we're kind of only expecting to get icing here again in that central part of Wisconsin and Minnesota, and maybe a little bit in the Great Lakes region of New York. You can use this tool to kind of walk yourself up in altitude. So if you wanted to say at 3,000, virtually no icing threat at 3,000 except for that New York region. Kind of walk yourself up. There's 7,000 more and more icing. So as you get higher up, temperatures get colder. You're walking yourself into freezing levels. So you can see there's a pyrep at 7,000 that wasn't there at 5,000. So you can use this tool. I'm sorry, 9,000 is what we're on. You can use this tool to really figure out what's the right altitude for you to be flying at. Where I see it at 9,000 here in the Cascade Range, lots of icing there at 9, but at like 7 and 5, that goes away. Route options open up increasingly. So that's how I use this blue chart. I'll go back to the main icing page. The freezing level chart's pretty useful. I really just use this for takeoff and landing to figure out where my destinations are. So here, kind of in anywhere in New England, Great Lakes region, or upper Midwest, you're below the freezing level. So because you're below the freezing level, you're going to be in icing conditions anytime you go IFR from wheels up. So it's really important to look at that chart. And then as you get down, I kind of use this chart to figure out where altitudes I should fly out if I'm going to stay out of the clouds. So like here in the middle south region, freezing levels below 11,000 feet, and then below 13,000 feet there on the Gulf Coast. So you can kind of use this to figure out altitudes to fly at. This looks like this is taking a little bit while. This will be a segment plot when it comes up. I'm not even going to wait for it to come up. You know what it's going to look like. And then finally, the last thing you've got is icing pyreps. You can look at different regions. You can actually get much more detail than you saw on other charts. So you can see like this person reported light rime ice at flight level 225 to flight level 240. This person reported light rime ice at 13,000 feet. Let's go up to that kind of north central region. Yeah, see, you can get this person no icing there at 15,000 feet, where someone was picking up some icing there at 10 to 12. So you can use this if you're about to fly. You can use this as a really good update chart on where all the pyreps are. And certainly if you're getting icing, definitely make pyreps, because your pyreps then go back into the system. My name is Chris. Thanks for listening to me on how to pick up forecasted icing information. Thanks.